This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
You know, there's a short life in
Why do you think that is, what the creative side is?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take. You're going through so much to try and deal with life.
Terrence Howard's revelation sent shockwaves through Hollywood, but not just because of the allegations themselves, though they were jaw-dropping enough to ignite a media frenzy. No, what really set the industry ablaze was the sheer audacity of what Howard claimed, that Sean Diddy Combs, the self-styled king of hip-hop and one of the most powerful figures in entertainment, had made a bold, inappropriate advance toward him during a private meeting. This wasn't just any accusation, this was a high-profile actor, someone who's been at the center of blockbusters and award-winning dramas, stepping forward with a tale that seemed ripped straight out of a James Ellroy novel. And if Howard's story is to be believed, it's not just about one uncomfortable encounter, it's a window into the murky underbelly of an industry that thrives on power plays, secrecy, and the unspoken currency of submission.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me.
It all started, Howard claims, with what seemed like an innocent invitation. Puffy, as Diddy was still known to some, had reached out, saying he wanted Howard to help him hone his acting craft. A casual request, sure, but one that Howard now says came laced with an ulterior motive. According to Howard, when he showed up to the meeting, the energy in the room was off from the start. Diddy didn't seem interested in scripts or coaching. He just stared. And that's when Howard says the vibe shifted entirely, when he realized, in his words, what this was really about. He didn't go into graphic detail in the interview, but the insinuations were clear enough to leave audiences stunned. Was this a one-off moment of boundary pushing, or was it part of a broader pattern of behavior from the music mogul? Howard didn't mince words. "You lose your man card," he said cryptically, as if laying down some kind of moral law that Diddy had, in his view, shattered.
Man card?
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
And Howard didn't stop there. He painted a grim portrait of Hollywood as a whole, a place where integrity and personal boundaries are often the first casualties on the path to success. According to him, the entertainment industry is rife with so-called compromises, moments when individuals are tested, pushed, and sometimes outright coerced into crossing lines they swore they'd never even approach. It's a world, Howard suggested, where maintaining your sense of self is an uphill battle, and where those who've lost their man card, as he put it, often find themselves spiraling into emotional chaos, seeking solace in unhealthy coping mechanisms. His words were charged with a mix of anger and sorrow, as if he was mourning not just for himself, but for countless others who've walked a similar path.
That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there, because they get fluid, and next thing you know, once you go fluid, you...
Howard's allegations are explosive on their own, but they gain even more weight when you consider the larger context of Diddy's ongoing legal troubles. The accusations against him, spanning everything from trafficking to financial misconduct, paint a picture of a man who's not just a savvy businessman, but also someone who allegedly operates with a level of impunity that few could ever dream of challenging. And yet here was Terrence Howard, standing up and effectively saying, enough. But what's even more telling is the reaction, or lack thereof, from Hollywood's elite. The silence has been deafening, and it's hard not to wonder why. Are they afraid of retribution? Or is this just another example of the industry's tendency to protect its own, no matter the cost?
At the end of the day, just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
Meanwhile, Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, has launched her own counteroffensive. If you thought Howard's claims were shocking, wait until you hear about the rumors swirling around Janice's legal strategy. Sources close to the Combs family say she's gearing up to file lawsuits against anyone and everyone who dares to speak out against her son. It's a scorched earth approach, one that's as aggressive as it is unprecedented. And while some might see it as a mother's fierce defense of her child, others are interpreting it as an attempt to silence critics and intimidate potential witnesses. After all, who wants to go toe-to-toe with one of the most connected families in entertainment, especially when that family is known for playing hardball?
So remember when I said Diddy mother might be the originator of the freak-offs? All right, so apparently tomorrow there's the Peacock is dropping the Diddy documentary. It's called Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, and the doc gets into Diddy's childhood and his experience growing up in connection to the lawsuit and assault allegations he's currently facing.
But here's the kicker. Janice herself isn't exactly free of controversy. For years, whispers have circulated about the kinds of gatherings she hosted back in the day, parties that were, let's just say, far from your average PTA bake sale. According to some accounts, these events were wild enough to rival anything her son is now accused of orchestrating. Attendees reportedly included everyone from high-profile musicians to street-level hustlers, and the atmosphere was anything but wholesome. If these stories hold even a grain of truth, they raise uncomfortable questions about the environment in which Diddy was raised. Did these early experiences shape the man he would become? And if so, does that make Janice complicit in some way? It's a question that's likely to resurface as these legal battles unfold.
According to the Rolling Stone, the doc features an alleged childhood friend of Puff's, hip-hop producer Tim Dog Patterson. He alleged that Janice, Diddy's mom, would often throw parties at Diddy's childhood home. He says that during the parties, it wasn't uncommon to walk into rooms where adults was having that was just their normal.
Janice's public statements have only added fuel to the fire. In a recent interview, she described her son as a victim of a witch hunt, painting him as a misunderstood genius who's being unfairly targeted by opportunists looking for a payday. Her words were passionate, even tearful, but they've done little to sway public opinion. If anything, they've only drawn more scrutiny to the Combs family and their alleged history of bending or outright breaking the rules to maintain their empire.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on.
And then there's the matter of the so-called blackmail parties. If you've been following the rumors closely, you'll know that these events are said to have been the stuff of legend, or nightmares, depending on who you ask. The idea is that certain industry power players would host exclusive gatherings where attendees were encouraged or pressured to let their guard down in ways that could later be used against them. Whether it was compromising photos, incriminating conversations, or other forms of leverage, the goal was the same: control. And if the allegations against Diddy are to be believed, it seems he may have taken a page out of this very playbook. The parallels are hard to ignore, and they cast a long, dark shadow over the entertainment industry as a whole.
To not be involved with a famous singer, to not come out, here's the price. And that they're just selling to the individuals that are in those, this is what I heard, they're selling those videos. So if you're Tommy X, and Tommy X is a big, big movie star, and he was at some of the Diddy parties. He was in one of those bedrooms with 3 other men, and he's happily married to a woman, and blah. Tommy doesn't want that video to come out.
The implications of all this are staggering. If even a fraction of these allegations are true, it suggests a level of systemic corruption that goes far beyond one man. It's about an entire ecosystem that allows or even encourages this kind of behavior to thrive. And while Diddy may be the one in the spotlight right now, you have to wonder, how many others are out there operating in the shadows, waiting for their turn to be exposed? As the legal battles intensify, one thing is clear. This story is far from over. The allegations, the lawsuits, the whispered rumors, they're all building towards something. And if history has taught us anything, it's that scandals like this rarely stay contained. They have a way of spiraling, dragging more and more people into their orbit, until the whole house of cards comes crashing down. So as we buckle up for the next chapter in this unfolding drama, the only question left to ask is, who's going to fall next?
Did you ever spend time with the guy? Did you ever meet Diddy?
I've met him before, yeah.
How was he?
Very nice guy, very smart. Super business, you know, I mean, he's very successful.
And just when you think it couldn't get darker, it does. Because the fallout from this scandal isn't just about Diddy's empire crumbling or Terrence Howard's bombshell claims. It's about an industry staring into the abyss of its own reflection. Hollywood, the music world, the entire entertainment complex. This isn't just Diddy's mess to clean up, it's everyone's. Yet somehow the silence from the A-list crowd grows louder by the day, and that silence, it's deafening. Take the freak-off allegations, for example. These aren't just lurid tales of excess, they're a window into the kind of culture that's been festering behind closed doors for decades. The idea that these gatherings weren't just wild parties, but orchestrated spectacles designed to humiliate, manipulate, and dominate, well, that's the kind of revelation that should have sent shockwaves through every corner of the industry. And yet, where's the outrage? Where are the statements of solidarity, the calls for accountability? Instead, what we've seen is a carefully choreographed dance of avoidance, as if the mere act of acknowledging these claims might implicate someone else.
People I don't think realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, you're a huge, iconic, TV star or movie star, and you're in some very, very...
And maybe it would, because here's the thing, Diddy didn't operate in a vacuum. He wasn't throwing these infamous gatherings in some hidden underground lair with no one watching. No, these events reportedly took place in sprawling mansions and luxury hotels, with guest lists that read like the who's who of Hollywood and hip-hop royalty. Some of the biggest names in the business were allegedly present, and not just as passive observers. There are whispers, unconfirmed, sure, but persistent, that some attendees weren't just complicit, they were active participants. And if even a fraction of that is true, it's no wonder the industry is treading so carefully. Nobody wants to be the next name to fall.
I'm not sure. I don't buy for a minute that he's going to prison without getting out of here somewhere and stashing $2 billion or whatever. I think he has that kind of power, meaning Sean himself. But remember, it goes a lot deeper than that.
What's even more unsettling is the ripple effect this silence creates. The longer these big names avoid addressing the growing mountain of allegations, the more it emboldens whispers about who else could be tangled in this web. Because, let's be real, this isn't just about one man's alleged misdeeds. The entertainment industry thrives on relationships, partnerships, and alliances, all bound together by shared secrets. And when someone at the top of the food chain falls, the tremors are felt all the way down. If Diddy goes down, you have to ask, who's next in line? How many careers are built on the same foundation of silence and complicity, just waiting to crumble under the weight of exposure?
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head.
And while the public is focused on the usual suspects, those high-profile friends and collaborators whose names keep popping up in lawsuits and rumors, there's an entire ecosystem of enablers that's gone largely unnoticed. What about the assistants who booked the flights, the managers who smoothed over the fallout, the PR reps who buried the stories? The machine that kept Diddy's empire running didn't operate on its own. It required a network of people willing to look the other way, whether out of loyalty, fear, or simple self-interest. And if those people start talking, that's when this story could really blow wide open. Because for every public figure whose name is attached to this scandal, there are dozens more working behind the scenes who know exactly where the bodies are buried. Figuratively speaking, of course. Even more chilling are the rumors that some of these enablers might already be flipping. Sources close to the ongoing investigations have hinted that several former employees and associates are cooperating with authorities, providing insider accounts that could paint an even more damning picture of Diddy's alleged operations. If these reports hold any truth, it's not just Diddy who should be sweating right now. It's everyone who played a role, no matter how small, in maintaining the status quo. And that's the thing about scandals like this. Once the first domino falls, the rest follow in quick succession. It's not a matter of if, but when.
Will you help me? I want to hear your music, so I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication.
But let's talk about the celebrities caught in this orbit. Because for every high-profile figure who's denied being at these events, there are others whose conspicuous silence is starting to raise eyebrows. Take Jay-Z, for instance. His name has been dragged into the conversation more than once, with lawsuits alleging his presence at some of these gatherings. And while his team has fiercely denied his involvement, insisting he was nowhere near Miami on the dates in question, the court of public opinion isn't so easily swayed. The same goes for Beyonce, who, according to one lawsuit, reportedly expressed disbelief at what she witnessed. Again, her reps have vehemently denied the claims. But the damage is done when your name becomes synonymous with a scandal this toxic. Clearing it is easier said than done.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
And then there's Justin Bieber. His connection to Diddy has always been a little strange, hasn't it? The resurfaced clips of a teenage Bieber hanging out with the music mogul have sparked a fresh wave of scrutiny, with fans and critics alike questioning just what kind of influence Diddy had over the young star. The footage, now viewed through the lens of these allegations, feels unsettling in a way it never did before. And Bieber's silence on the matter? That's only adding fuel to the fire. Is he staying quiet out of loyalty, fear, or something else entirely? Whatever the reason, it's not a good look. For him, or for Diddy. But the real question is, how deep does this go? Because if Diddy's alleged actions are just the tip of the iceberg, then what lies beneath the surface could be far worse. Industry insiders are starting to speak out, anonymously of course, about a culture of complicity that goes far beyond Diddy. They talk about whispered warnings to steer clear of certain people, about favors traded behind closed doors, about careers made or broken depending on how willing you were to play the game. And while these stories have always existed on the fringes of Hollywood lore, they've never been this close to breaking wide open. Even Diddy's closest allies aren't immune to scrutiny. His mother, Janice Combs, has been a vocal defender of her son, but her involvement in his rise to power is drawing fresh criticism. Some are questioning whether her alleged actions, those rumored parties from decades ago, the aggressive legal strategies she's employing now, are part of a larger pattern of enabling. Is she protecting her son, or is she protecting herself? And more importantly, what does she know that the rest of us don't?
Talking about the parties, Tim says, verbatim, that's what we were privy to. This was what we were fed. Was it desensitizing us? I'm sure it was. Were we aware of it? No, that was just Saturday night. In the doc, per Rolling Stone, this type of childhood is alleged to be why Tim, the longtime friend of Diddy's, Puff, believes that Puff found himself in the position he is in now.
The lawsuits are piling up, the allegations are snowballing, and the legal battles are becoming more theatrical by the day. Diddy's defense team is pulling out all the stops, painting him as the victim of a coordinated smear campaign. Meanwhile, his accusers are pushing back harder than ever, armed with evidence that ranges from damning text messages to alleged video footage. And while we wait for these cases to play out in court, the public is left to sift through the chaos, trying to separate fact from fiction in a story that's becoming increasingly surreal. And just when you think it can't get any more tangled, enter the conspiracy theories. They're everywhere, from Reddit threads to late-night YouTube deep dives. Some claim Diddy's downfall is part of a larger power struggle within the industry, a calculated takedown orchestrated by rivals looking to claim his throne. Others suggest it's a diversion, a way to keep attention away from even bigger scandals lurking in the shadows. And then there are the truly outlandish ones. Whispers of secret societies, coded messages in song lyrics, and connections to other high-profile cases. It's the kind of speculation that would be laughable if it weren't so chillingly plausible in the context of everything we've learned so far.
I don't know this, but it just seems very suspicious when you go through and you look at in the history of different people that can make you go away if you listen, I've worried about some of the things that I talk about on my show.
But here's the thing about conspiracy theories, they thrive in the absence of transparency. The more the industry closes ranks, the more people will fill in the gaps with their own narratives. And right now, those narratives are painting a picture of an entertainment world that's far darker and more twisted than most of us ever imagine. So where does this leave us? With more questions than answers, for one. Questions about who else knew, who else benefited, and who else might be complicit. Questions about the systems and structures that allowed this to happen, and whether they'll ever truly be dismantled. And of course, questions about Diddy himself. Is he the ringleader of a sprawling network of manipulation and control, or a scapegoat for an industry desperate to protect its own? What do you think? Is this the beginning of Hollywood's reckoning, or just another cover-up waiting to happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and as always, stay tuned, because this story is far from over. See you in the next one.